First off, I want to start by acknowledging that the Langley School District resides on the Kwantlen, Katzie, Matsqui, and Simiamu First Peoples, and that we're all so honored to be here today. Canada is a wonderful place. We have a lot of growing to do, yes, but I absolutely love our country. Does anyone know where the name Canada comes from? Maybe. Well, put the rest of you out of your misery. The name Canada is thought to have originated from the Huron-Iroquois word Kanata, meaning village or settlement. It seems like such common knowledge, but many Canadians don't know this. Many Canadians don't know our country's history, the full history, an unbiased history. One of attempted cultural genocide, discrimination, and murder. In many cases, it's not as a result of a refusal to learn, but rather ignorance. Chief Justice Murray Sinclair said that it is precisely because education was the primary tool of oppression of Aboriginal people and miseducation of all Canadians that we have concluded that education holds the key to reconciliation. I want to acknowledge that we've come a long way from the past. I remember sitting in my 8th grade social studies class, flipping open my textbook and turning to a subsection entitled Indigenous Peoples of Canada. It was 3 pages long. One paragraph was given to pre-contact, another paragraph was given to residential schools, and almost no mention of Indigenous art or music. The rest of the 300-page book was devoted to heroic tales of settlers, completely undermining the attacks on Indigenous people's land and human rights. Now, in 4 years, a lot has changed for the good. I can remember my humanities teacher dancing in the halls when we finally tossed the dated textbooks into the garbage. Curriculums are finally beginning to celebrate Indigenous culture rather than disregard it, but there's still so much work to do. This past year, when I had the opportunity to do my grade 12 course planning, I saw English 12 First Peoples, and I chose it. Not because any of my previous education had sparked any interest on the topic, but because it sounded easier. And I wasn't the only one in my class with this preconception in my mind. Around half of the class admitted they only took the course because people told them it was easy. Now, it's so dangerous that we are so quick to dismiss learning because of linked culture, that we somehow consider that to be easier. It wasn't easier. It was just different. We did everything that you'd expect to see in a regular English class. We read. We read Richard Wagame's, connecting us to the atrocities of residential schools through Indian Horse. We read Katharina Vermette's The Break, painting a heartbreaking story of lateral violence and systemic racism. We felt loss with Eden Robinson in Monkey Beach, but we also laughed. We laughed with Kevin Loring in Where the Blood Mixes, and with Drew Hayden Taylor in Only Drunks and Children Tell the Truth. We began our journey to understanding through Indigenous literature. We started breaking away from common colloquialisms, developing emotional connections to literature, and learning concepts that aren't taught to us in Western society. My favorite one of these concepts was when the class looked at the Lillooet principles of learning. We learned the word kamuthkasha. The meaning of kamuthkasha is the felt energy, indicating group attunement and the emergence of a common group purpose, and that individuals feel safe and free to express their views. What a mouthful, but it just goes to show that Indigenous knowledge is so rich that we need 30 words to describe a single idea. And just think, if this word were in more people's vocabulary, the meaning sitting in their hearts and in their minds, how would they interact with the world differently? Afterwards, I found myself striving for kamuthkasha. For the first time in my life, I had opened my mind to the idea of a group existing as one, with one heart and one mind, working together for a common group goal. This felt energy that I'm sure we all have experienced came into focus because I had a word for it. I had a word in my mind, and it started to affect how I acted within a group of people, both inside and outside of the classroom. In fact, this wasn't such an isolated example of transferable learning. Almost everything that we witnessed, I found to be beneficial in other parts of my life. Teachings, such as the medicine wheel, revolved around holistic wellness, challenging notions about what learning really means. And that's why Indigenous education is so impactful to young people. It allows us to be two-sided, to see the world through multiple cultural perspectives. I want to urge young people to instill change within their school by putting pressure on teachers and administrators to offer this course and to make it mandatory. To not be dismissive of Indigenous knowledge and to receive wisdom with open hearts and open minds. One of the most amazing things about English 12 First Peoples is that so many students continue to work in the community even after the semester is over. Like myself, many of my peers have taken action against the injustice that we were made aware of during this course. A great example of this was my school's photo writing collaboration entitled This is Kwantlen. Students photographed and wrote biographies on prominent members of the Indigenous community. Chief Marilyn Gabriel, elders, and young people had their essence shared with the people of Fort Langley. Not only did this project honor the people of Kwantlen First Nation, but it also demonstrated that art can be a powerful medium in social justice. And this is why I'm so grateful to attend an art school. Not only are we taught how to improve our artistry, but we're also taught of the responsibility associated with being an artist. Compare it to the Voltaire quote, later used by Spider-Man, "With great power comes great responsibility." As young people and as artists, our voices are loud, and we have to be aware of that. We have to acknowledge our privilege. It's something that we're born with, and it is something that will stay with us till the day we die. But what's important is how we use or abuse that privilege to level the playing field. This is where the term allyship comes from. Allyship is the lifelong process of building relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalized groups of people. However, allyship is not self-defined. Our work and our efforts must be recognized by the people that we seek to ally ourselves with. I have been recognized and honored for the work of my mother and for my work that I've done over this last year in numerous actions. These actions could be as small as a smile. I'm honored by a smile, a laugh, a handshake, a hug, little things that show me what I'm doing is making a difference. I have also been honored in my welcoming into communities and their ceremonies. These invitations have also been humbling. But out of the many gifts of thanks that I have received, probably the most impactful has been the gift to my spirit. My journey of learning and my work has only just begun, but it's beginning to become such a cornerstone in my life. I had the opportunity to work with the Moose Hide campaign as a student voice. For those of you not familiar, the campaign is a grassroots movement started by Paul Lacerte and his daughter Raven in hopes to end violence against women and children. Their family lives alongside the Highway of Tears, which is a section of highway between Prince George and Prince Rupert, BC, where dozens of women have gone missing or have been found murdered. They had the idea of using moose hide as a symbol to inspire men to get involved in the movement. Now, 7 years later, more than 1 million squares of moose hide, like this one, have been distributed, and campaigns have spread across Canada. Local campaigns have started in government offices, in colleges and universities, on First Nation reserves, in friendship centers, in community organizations, and within individual families. The campaign's goal is to distribute 10 million moose hides in hopes to spark 10 million conversations about the problem. The education director of the campaign, Miss Charlene Barehead, reached out to me in my school asking if we'd work with the campaign. Once I became more informed in the incredible work that they're doing, I felt invigorated. I wanted to do everything in my power to help spread the message. Because of my experience of the impact of arts, I knew the voice that I had. So I began making a promotional video about violence in Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities. And then I started working on a documentary about the Moose Hide campaign with a team of like-minded students. The documentary is set to be completed by May, so pretty soon coming up, and we're going to show a short clip of our work.
I'm really inspired by people coming together to stand up for what they believe in and raising awareness for this really powerful issue, this struggle for Aboriginal women's rights.
Sometimes anger is just a big circle. And my mother, for instance, my mother screamed at me when she was angry at me when I was a child. And I did the same with my children when I became an adult. Sometimes it's just something you observe. That's what I look at it for.
There's 7 more generations to heal, right? So we're a part of that, and if we don't do our part, then our next generation isn't going to be doing their part, right?
I had the privilege and the honor of interviewing my peers, as well as Josette Sequia Danderand. And I'm so very grateful for her sharing her story, so thank you. If you'd like to watch the full thing and learn more about the Moose Hide campaign, please check out their website. They will be sharing the full project on their social media. Just one of the many ways that the hardworking people of the Moose Hide campaign have honored me. I was also honored to be invited to speak at the annual provincial gathering this last February in Victoria, and it completely changed my life. To be able to share my perspective on the fight to end violence against women and children, as well as to speak with people who are affected by such a universal issue, it was so inspiring to me. It confirmed the need to take this home to my own community. Since January of this year, a handful of students and myself at Langley Fine Arts, we've been planning a walk of our own. And I'm so happy and grateful to say that on April 9th, as you saw in the footage, it happened. Around 250 students from my school joined members of the district Aboriginal program, members of Kwantlen First Nation, and various other guests from around the Lower Mainland. The day was full of good medicine. What I enjoy so much about planning these kinds of events for my community is the healing and the learning that it provides them with. I attribute my social justice, my motivation for social justice, to 2 things. 1, English 12 First Peoples, for opening my eyes to the hardship and injustice that's happening in my own backyard. And 2, powerful matriarchs in my life. Strong, dedicated women who change the world every day. I've been so blessed with a patient, a compassionate, and a supportive mother who has provided me with many invaluable teachings. But the one that I want to share with you all is this. When I was in middle school, still discovering who I was as an individual, I was picked on for being different. And I'd get home in tears, and my mom would sit me down, and she'd say, "Duncan, The tallest trees get the most wind. But I'm here as your roots to help keep you grounded. You just keep growing. And that's the advice I want every young person here to take with them. Just keep growing. Grow through healthy choices. Grow by seeking out education and opportunities that are going to benefit you and your community. Grow through love and grow through experience. Grow respectfully within the people around you. Know that you're but a single tree in a never-ending wood. But know that your actions have consequences, that what you do now affects 7 generations into the future. Know your roots. Know where you've come from so you can better see where you're going. As Canadians, it's important that we acknowledge our past. But once we do that, we can better apply ourselves to reconciliation. We can learn how to walk in life with that truth in a good way and move forward. We can grow, all of us together. TEDxYouth.